The Good Son. The Prince of Heaven sat enthroned, above a sea of glass and flame. His Father sat at his left hand, and living creatures praised their names. He stood with purpose set in mind. The time had come to step into time, to set aside eternal fame, and dwell as man among mankind. His Father had outlined the plan, the rugged path to our salvation, to which he now set holy feet, obeying without reservation. His prospects took a sudden dive, from highest heaven's heights he dropped, his status, his station, his glory forsaken, but even at this he didn't stop. What role would he take when he entered our world? An emperor, a king, a conqueror strong? Earthly scholars each held their own view. Each view that they held turned out to be wrong. Down past the emperors and down past kings, down past conquerors and all lofty things, down to his people, to the simplest of starts, came heaven's high prince, carrying heaven's heart. To small town Israel, to a young teenage mother, was born the Messiah, a son like no other. Our God became flesh, weak and in need of warmth and of love, of care and of feed. His glory abandoned, his posture transformed, from heaven's high ruler to a baby newborn. His Father looked down and saw it was done, and he said to the world, "See, I give you my son." And so Jesus' earthly journey began, for Jesus he was to be named. The name meant God saves, and it spoke of the plan that in Eden God first had proclaimed. He had to be perfect, though he was just a man with the same struggles as you and I. For to elevate men from sin and from death, he must carry their sin and then die. What son would accept so heavy a task? If your hope was in men, there'd be none. But with Jesus, God knew that he need only ask, for earth never had seen such a son. Jesus grew in stature and wisdom, until as a rabbi he rose, and it soon would be clear by the miracles he worked that his teachings were more than man's prose. He walked with a grace that won hearts to God's ways, and a power that irked the religious. For his message was one that laid bare the heart, and the pride of the priests was prodigious. God's kingdom he taught, not laws and loopholes, and so the law keepers were tweaked. Their power was stripped by the freedom he brought, and his words cut to shreds their conceit. With each crippled limb healed, each demon cast out, the threat that he posed to their way grew. So they laid a trap for the Son of the God, that they bowed every morning and prayed to. The feast of Passover began in due course, a time in which Jews were implored to remember the day that their freedom was gained, liberty by the hand of the Lord. A sacrifice had been made to protect them. The blood of a lamb was their shield. In exchange, the lamb for the life of their sons. In this picture, God's plan was revealed. Our lamb was betrayed by a friend while he prayed, for he knew that his death would soon come. But even in this, his hour of grief, he asked that God's will would be done. Through a sham of a trial, he stood silently while they accused him of crimes they'd invented. And though heaven's armies were a whisper away, to their every abuse, he consented. If that had been me, I dare say that the day would have ended quite differently. But he had in mind his Father's design, and he died there for you and for me. But it's hard to keep a good son down. For 3 days he assaulted hell's pits. Then, after taking the keys of sin and of death, our Lord, though entombed, suddenly drew a breath, for a truly good son never quits. 40 days later his purpose was served. He'd achieved everything he intended. And so at long last, surrounded by friends, on a cloud from our world, he ascended. Up past the trials and up past the woes, past mortality's highs and all of its lows, back to high heaven and back to his throne, and back to the Father who welcomed him home. But as he sat at last above flame and glass, the full reach of the plan became clear. For the good Son of God became Son of Man, and Son of Man he remained, even there. You and I were predestined to become like that Son, our Lord Jesus, the Father's first child. Because he came to us on that first Christmas day, now we come to God, reconciled.